Let's unpack the market movements now with Gary Boyston from Rand Swiss. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Gary. It's day 2 of the Brics Summit. What has the reaction been on the markets thus far?
I think we might be getting a little bit of optimism around the local currency. So we've seen a huge appreciation of the South African rand, trading around 18.44 to the US dollar currently. And I think part of that is the Brics effect. A little bit of it is the risk on trade as well, but that clearly feeding through. So we've heard, obviously a lot around the idea of conducting trade in Brics currencies where possible. Obviously, President Ramaphosa today also speaking about the use of financial systems and global governance institutions as instruments of geopolitical contestation. So clearly, a deepening of ties with the Brics nations, which could be a good thing for South Africa, but it also could be a bad thing. So we will see how it plays out, but I think we're getting a little bit of currency strength maybe on the back of it.
Let's go to some company results. Pharmaceutical giant Adcock Ingram released their results, and the sale of Panadus were quite down from mid-pandemic levels.
Yeah, so looking at Adcock Ingram's results, the market's certainly liking them, pushing the stock up well over 3% on the day. They've announced a dividend of R2.50, and it's showing its defensive nature. So as you said, Panadus maybe not flying off the shelves, but the other brands, Corenza C, Allergex, etc., helping to lift the group. Where they're really seeing, I suppose, the challenges in the single exit price. So essentially, the price controls imposed by government, it accounts for around 57% of their revenue, and they are strategically trying to diversify away from that. They've had below inflation increases, which are putting a little bit of pressure on the overall figures. But the other half, so the over-the-counter products, very defensive products, and their prescriptions business also helping to lift the result. And I think the market taking it in stride and liking what they had to deliver.
So Sasol, on the other hand, also released results but announced a 65% drop in earnings. What reasons were given there?
So there's quite a few reasons. So, volatile global environments, weaker chemical prices, just depressed demand, all around, high inflation. They even pointed to the underperformance of South African state-owned enterprises. So really giving a lot of reasons for the underlying drop, but I think also well telegraphed to the market. So on the 14th of August, they did release a trading statement saying the headline earnings per share were going to be between around 49.47 and 56 points, at least 56.13 rand. They came in at 53.75, so right in line with that guidance. So no big moves in the share price. Share price up marginally on the day, and the market taking the bad news in its stride and not punishing the stock too aggressively.
If we now look at the rand, the very volatile rand, we saw some good news coming from it today, but then you never know what can happen tomorrow. What are you expecting to happen? On what sort of trajectory are we at this moment?
Well, we can clearly see the weakening, the broader term weakening trend in the local currency. If you take it out longer term, it's the inflation differential that you've got to look at. And, we expect around a 6% weakening at least in the currency per year. That's the long run average. But, shorter term, you can see the volatility. And, at 17.50, we've certainly felt clients on our desk starting to move funds out, going and buying dollars. Around 19.50, in that band, you're starting to see the people that are earning dollars bringing it back, converting it into rand. So you get the sense that that's where the range is at the moment. Part of this, as I said, is maybe some of the Brics effect, but it is also a general risk on sentiment feeding into markets at the moment. So we've got the S&P 500 up just about 1%. We've got the Nasdaq up around 1.5%. The FTSE also managed to add 0.7% today. So you've got this risk on trade. People are getting a little bit more optimistic. That's generally good for emerging market currencies, and that's, I think, also helping to firm our local unit. At 18.44, I kind of think we're in the middle of the band, but between 17.50 and 18, I'd probably be buying dollars. But yeah, as I said, above 19, probably buying rand.
So if we look at this week, global markets are reacting up and down about this meeting at Jackson Hole, where officials from the US Fed and other central banks will meet. What can you tell us about this meeting, and why is the markets reacting so?
So the big news is going to be when Jerome Powell obviously speaks tomorrow, or at least on Friday. And I think the reason that the focus is on Jackson Hole is that it has been a meeting that has previously been used to just tweak expectations of market participants around the trajectory of U.S. interest rates. There's generally a large gap, over the summer period in the Northern Hemisphere between the two FOMC meetings, and Jackson Hole falls right in the middle of that. So we've got just under a month to go until our next FOMC meeting in September. The expectation is that the Fed is going to, overwhelming expectation is that the Fed is going to pause its interest rate hikes. We're not expecting another interest rate hike at that meeting. But if there is going to be a change of tack from the Fed, it will be announced on Friday. So I think that's why all eyes are on that figure. We've had, obviously an extra labor market statistic and an extra CPI figure out of the US after the last FOMC meeting. So this is the time for them to tell us and try and guide expectations around the path of interest rates going forward.
Yes, and we'll all look for that for next month when our Reserve Bank will make their announcement. But thank you so much for your time, Gary. That was Gary Boyson from Rand Swiss.